Hello again. By popular demand, I've been asked to do a video on how to open the bonnet up and answer the question of the tell me question for the 3 questions under the bonnet. And obviously I'm doing it on a all new Nissan Micra, and the first thing the examiner will do is ask you to open the bonnet up. So you'll need to open the door of the car and go to the footwell, which you'll find near your accelerator pedal, and you'll need to pull the lever and to open the bonnet. Now when you pull the bonnet lever, you'll hear the bonnet catch, and then you know the bonnet is open. So then you can either, you won't be sitting in the car when this happens, but that's fine. Then what you'll need to do is go to the car and open the bonnet up. Now you can see it's already slightly lifted, and if I get a bit closer you can see that. Now about halfway in the middle of the car there's a catch, and the catch is just about there, and it's near the middle of the bonnet. And what you do is you push the catch to the left and you'll be able to lift the bonnet at the same time. Now I've got to do this with one hand, obviously. You're about to lift the bonnet up. Okay, now just to the left of the bonnet you'll see the bonnet catch, and you'll have to open the bonnet catch. Okay, now I'm doing this all with one hand, which is quite clever of me, but you'll have your right hand holding the bonnet up and your left hand doing it. Now what I do is I put my thumb on this and I put my finger on there and I squeeze them like so. Then you can actually let it go and put it into that hole nearly. So I'm just going to have to put my camera down for a second. I'm going to use my head to hold the bonnet up while I put that in the hole. Alright, so you've got both hands on this, I've got one hand, so it goes into that hole. Then you can let go of the bonnet. Okay, now if you look under the hood or bonnet, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, but the dipstick is one of the questions they could ask you. So they might say to you, can you identify where the dipstick is, and can you tell me how you would know if there's sufficient oil in the engine? So basically the dipstick on my car is where the filler cap is. So it's a big round yellow one, and if I was to open it, which you don't do on test, you only explain this, so you don't actually do it, you can take the dipstick out and you can see the dipstick. All right, and you can see where the oil would be remnant on the bottom. Okay, so you don't do that, you only explain that you would take the dipstick out, clean the dipstick, put it back in again, and then take it out a second time, and the oil should be between the minimum and the maximum. Now if it's between the minimum and the maximum, then you have sufficient oil. If you need to add oil, then you put it in the filler cap. Okay, another question they could ask you is to do with the coolant. So they would say to you, can you identify where the coolant reservoir is and how you would know if it has sufficient coolant in? Well, the coolant obviously is the big water one. Water for cooling, oil for lubricating. So this is the coolant, and the coolant has to be between the minimum and the max. And if you look carefully, you can see the word max, and you can see the coolant, different colour because of the antifreeze, is just below the maximum, so that's ideal. As long as it's between the minimum and the maximum, that's all they want to know. The third and final question they could ask you under the bonnet is the brake fluid, and they'll say, can you identify where the brake fluid reservoir is, and how do you know if there's enough fluid in the brake in the reservoir? You show them this one, and the brake fluid minimum and maximum will be on the side there. Yeah, and that's it really. You don't have to explain how you would top it up or anything like that. And you'll notice one thing about these 3 objects under my car, under my bonnet, is that they're yellow. All right, so that should help you to figure out which one's which. So you've got the oil for the dipstick, that helps to lubricate the engine, stops it from seizing up. The water or the coolant, and that one keeps the engine cool. And then you have the brake fluid. Now if any of these start to get low, then you're going to have problems with the car itself. So always keep that regularly checked. Alright, so that's one of the questions they're going to ask you to do. Once you've done that, they're going to ask you to close the bonnet. Okay, now I've got to try and do this with one hand again while I hold my camera. So I'm going to use my head, but you take that out of the hole. Alright, and you bring it up, and you put it into the catch. Now you make sure it goes into the catch and it clicks. All right, then you can, give me a second, close the bonnet. Now make sure that you close it and it closes properly. So what I do is I bring it to, it's about 10 inches, a foot away from the thing, and I let go of it. So it slams, or the weight of the bonnet closes the bonnet properly. If it's nice and flush, then you know the bonnet is properly closed. All right, and that's it. And then they will continue with your part of the test. All right, so I hope that helps. Any questions, then obviously, and we will go over this anyway just before the test starts. So we will quickly go over all the show me, tell me questions. So don't worry about any of that. All right, hope that helps. Bye for now.